How's it going, everybody? Manny Reads Comics here, where I recap and review my comics from my pull list. And today I have Albert Loves Comics here, who is going to help me recap Static number 2. How's it going, man?
Doing great, man. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, thank you. And Albert, I actually discovered him on Instagram at Albert Loves Comics, and then I saw his reels. He's got a TikTok, so go make sure to check him out. I will have those links in the description. But man, I love your TikTok videos, man. They have so much like energy on them. It's something that I do have my own TikTok. I don't really try to plug that because I don't really post content creation on TikTok. Is just over my head, man. It's just it's a different beast.
It started off as just like fun and games with me and my wife
Yeah.
because she was on it every day for like hours, and I was like, "What are you doing?" Like I was always avoiding it, and then
Hmm.
once I realized that like there's communities just like Instagram
Yep.
on TikTok, like there's comic book people, there's movie people, there's sneaker people, and I was like, "Oh, well, like let me dip into this comic book thing," and it's been a lot of fun.
That's
It's the future. That's just the truth.
yeah, exactly.
Video content is just a little bit. It's more engaging than a post, and I think that a lot of people are getting to learn that like, with TikTok right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was our plug-in for TikTok in general. Yeah, there it is. No, but yeah, no, we're gonna talk about Static number 2. Before we get started on the recap, I do have the cover here with we got Virgil Hawkins in his whole full Static suit. You got his mom and dad and his sister in the background. The house is burning. What you think about this?
So you should know this about me. I'm a massive Static fan.
Okay.
So this was made for me. I loved it. I love the issue. I love the cover. I think it does a really. I have it right here in front of me.
Nice.
I think it does a really good job of telling you how the last issue like left off. I love the energy in it. I love that the parents are there. You know, a lot of superheroes like their parents don't know what's going on and like right off the bat. So I love the energy right off the bat. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and not even like going into detail or anything about the story, but just the art, the interior art in general. What do you think of it?
So on Instagram, Nicholas Draper Ivy,
Yeah.
I follow him, and one of the things that I'm most interested about his art style, it's all digital.
Is it
So
okay?
all digital completely. He doesn't use pencil to paper, and I dabble a little bit with art. Like I'm trying to learn. I try and learn how to paint and all that. But I just got an iPad, and I downloaded one of those apps to like how to do some sketches. And digital art is a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
Like in Batman, that's what they're doing over there too. With ongoing series there. So I just think it's really impressive. It's a brand new medium, and I think it offers just a different like style. So I like it a lot. I think there's ways that there's different kinds of like styles that are being introduced to the medium
Hmm.
that haven't really been explored as much. So I read the '90s Static, and this is like it feels different.
Yeah.
So I like it.
Yeah. No, you beat me to it. I was gonna say Batman Jorge Jimenez. That's the same thing he does. He on Instagram he'll show like his videos of how he his process on drawing it. So that's really cool. Lately, that's what he's been doing, and but yeah, like you said, the interiors. It's just a completely different feel from any other book that I've read. I started reading collecting comics in 2011, so I've seen a couple of different variations of the art, and this is completely different. This is new, so I like it as well. I do appreciate it. And this right here, like you said, it is a callback to the ending of the first issue where Francis, aka Hotstreak, decided he's gonna take this vendetta against Virgil and burn down his house. just like jumped all sorts of criminal whatever and just went straight to this house. So that's where we start off. But actually, my bad. That's not where we start off. We start off with Daisy at her house or at her room, and she's got you see like this like weird aura or something around her hands. Her mom calls out to her to come eat dinner or something, and her power releases, and she doesn't know what's going on. Right off the bat, I don't know how I feel about this because so you said you're a huge Static fan. You read all the old ones. I've only read the first 2 issues of the very first Static run, so I don't know anything about that run. my static knowledge and my static love came from watching the TV show, growing up, the cartoon. And in the cartoon, Daisy had zero powers. Daisy was a good friend, intelligent woman, no powers though. And then now we're seeing that she's gonna have some powers, and I don't know, like the child inside of me is like, no, I don't want that. Daisy's changing. I don't appreciate that at all. But the other side of me is like, this is interesting. We haven't seen this. Maybe it's gonna be good. Maybe not. We'll find out. What did you think when you saw that?
I had similar thoughts for sure. I think that like what they're doing right off the bat is like they're switching it up. They're telling a different story. The story's already been told, right?
Yeah.
So like the part that has stuck with me the most is that like he's Static is using his powers, but like in the open. Yep. And like he's not in costume, his face is showing. Like this is also high school, right? Like kids got cameras, kids are talking, his neighbors are seeing him with the fight outside. Yeah. So in the comic books and the TV show, like he had a mask and a secret identity. Yeah. So like that right away to me was like shocking, because I thought the story was going to go a little different. So I think basically, I think it's fun to see a story go on its different path, because there could be shocking endings in like different ways. Like I don't think his dad was really as involved in his life either in the comic books. Right. And his dad is like tough and strong and like high expectations, the highest expectations. So it's also cool to kind of see like a new character in that role. So I like it. But I get it. I get the like want to, get your loyalty, like attended to, but I do appreciate the risk that the writers are taking to give a new story.
Completely agree. Like that's exactly what it is. I have like my two halves are fighting right now, trying to figure out, am I gonna like this or not? And I'm being pretty open-minded about it. I understand that this is a new era. This is a new Static. This is for a whole new generation of people. So you got to let it go. You got to let go that it's not your Static anymore. It's not going to be the same. But I'm glad you brought up like the changes of like his identity. There is no secret identity. His dad is completely different, because I am going to bring that up as we move on. But I'm glad that you noticed those things. So then after we see Daisy kind of like use her powers for the first time, we go back to the ending of the first issue where Virgil's just watching his house burn. He's talking about the how time is relative, and he felt like he's been watching his house burn for hours, even though it's been a couple of seconds. And I'm glad that his house is burning. I'm glad about it, because as you said, he has not thought about his secret identity whatsoever. He immediately attacked Francis out in the open in high school, at the school where everybody could see. He came out here. He didn't even try to hide from his parents that he had powers. Not trying to hide from the neighbors. There are consequences to that, and they're the consequences of not keeping a secret identity. Yeah. Your enemies are going to know where you live, and they're going to come burn your house down, right? So I'm glad to see that those immediate consequences are happening, right? But Hotstreak is just laughing. But as soon as he's done laughing, he's about to like take out Virgil, and he realizes, oh, he's out of juice. He doesn't have any power left. But at this point, I love how Virgil is like just analyzing everything. He's like, all right, he's out of juice, so that must mean that his powers are connected to his emotions, and or his energy, and because he's out of energy right now, that must mean that this fire here is more of a flash than it is a substance, right? So it's not as powerful of a fire it could be. And as soon as he's about to like take out Hotstreak, I love that his heroic side does come out. It came out from Hotstreak saying, like, oh, are you really going to let your house burn down or whatever? But it still did wake him up and said, like, oh, I can't do that. I can't. As much as I want to take down Hotstreak right now, I have to take care of not only my house, but the fire may spread to the other houses, and I can't allow that to happen. So we're starting to see those little bits of pieces of the hero that Static Shock is, right?
And that he's not just like an emotional person.
Right.
Like he's even in that heat of the moment, literally, he can still think logically, right? He can still think like, well, okay, I can actually take him down right now, but there's a more immediate risk right now in walking away. So exactly. I have to think of this. That's one of my favorite things that happens in comics, right? Like the guy's getting away, but this person's in
But there's a
danger. And like
reason, yeah.
that's it's always great because like it really is telling, like you said, of like, you know, true heroism. Like
Hmm.
want to take care of people rather than take care of your emotional want for revenge. But
Yeah.
can you imagine your house burning down, like with all the comics that we have?
And then
That would be
so, my
that'd be
God,
crazy.
no. Why'd you have to even say that on
Sorry,
camera and
but that's
everything? Like,
that's what the character's going through, right? Like that's what his whole family's
his whole
feeling.
thing,
And
yeah.
I think when I don't know when I first read that, I was like, the house burning, like I don't know why it got me. I was like, oh wow, like this is actually is a big deal.
Hmm.
Like if you've never been exposed to any of these risks before,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
yeah,
absolutely. And but so yeah, so he decides I'm gonna save the house. He lets Hotstreak go, and he turns around. And once again, another great part about this is that he starts showing his intelligent side. Not only his mature side now, but his intelligence. He remembers. I guess later on we find out that he remembers the theory of something that Hardware was talking about, and he's able to gather up the fire through his like magnetic field. I'm assuming. I'm not sure. I'm making this up as I go on right here, but I don't know what he did with his electric powers. But he kind of put like a force field around his house and was able to like vacuum the fire and then shoot it straight up in the arrow. And even one of his neighbors was like, "That's some straight superhero shit right there." Like it was great to see. It was amazing, and it did take a lot out of him. This is like his one of his first times going all out. So his stamina is not there with his powers.
yeah.
But that was a great scene. I really loved it. You know.
Yeah, they were showing that like he's a student of hardware or like or
Mhm.
was it Curtis Metcalf.
Yeah.
So like he has a relationship with this character, you know, and he's I think of it as like in the MCU like a Peter Parker and Iron Man
Yeah. Yeah.
relationship, you know, and it's
Yeah.
like oh wow, like they're both very smart people,
And
you
that
know.
was and that was um there for the original, right? For the original static storyline.
I don't think so. So I well, all right. So I have the whole thing. I have the 45 issues. It was hard work to get the whole
Yeah.
volume. Some of those, like the last two issues, only like 4,000 of them were printed.
Really? Oh
Like
wow.
they're competitive, you know, people were hunting. But I told myself I'm not going to read the entire thing until I have them all, and like I just got them all. So I'm at like number 20. So by
Okay.
20, there wasn't any relationship between them at all. So
That's
possibly,
hilarious. That's hilarious that you do that because I'm doing the same thing with the Miss Marvel run, the very first Miss Marvel run. I'm not gonna read it until I have the whole collection. I'm like five
yeah.
books away from having it, so like it's
You
not
want to know
back here. It's over here on another one, and then I have more comics out here. I'm surrounded by comics. No, but
yeah.
it's funny that
I don't want a street collection. No, I want that American cheese. I can just like savor the whole thing.
right, exactly. No, so then hours later, the house stopped burning. We have Robert, which is Static's dad. Uh, he asks him how long has he had his powers, and at the same moment, before he can even answer, the mom comes in and she's like, this was missed. We didn't know that he had powers. The hospital did tests, but they don't know what they were looking for. They just did like an overall, what was it, appearance kind of test, but it
Yeah,
wasn't
like
like a mutagen kind of test.
they weren't
So
checking for his mutant abilities. They were checking just like general health.
exactly. So like they didn't catch it and they don't know to. So now she wants to um, basically go back to the hospital, check him up, check for those mutagens, make sure that it's not killing him slowly. And the dad is not for it. He's like, I'll be damned if my son goes and gets poked and prodded by these white coats and stuff. And then it goes into like a very real situation, very real life situation of the history of black people in hospitals, right? And experiments and things like that. And that I really respect that they're putting that in the comics because that's a very touchy issue, and they're not even trying to hide it. It's right there in your face. And she says, I am a black female in the nursing industry. I know most about everything. This is why I joined I said nursing, but I'm not sure if she's a nurse. Is she a nurse or
Uh,
is she a
I,
doctor?
I don't think it said it, but I know she's definitely in the medical field.
Right.
Uh,
So she knows best. Basically, she knows more than he does. And so at this point, they have a conversation. He says, my word is final, and that doesn't happen in their household. and then he sends them off to their room, and then they continue arguing. This is one of those changes about him that all I know of Static is from the cartoon. And in the cartoon, he was a great man, very understanding, very empathetic, and very patient. And in this, he's seeming to be like very strong-headed, angry. His first thought is, how can this benefit Virgil? At the very least, it's not how can this benefit me, but it's how can this benefit my son so he can be better, instead of, is my son okay? Which is, I don't know how I feel about this. Both sides are not wrong.
So my first thought when reading it was like, this is a real argument. Like it wasn't like one, your house luckily did not burn to the ground, right? Like it was charred outside, but the inside is fine. The comic books are fine. And like, but you're finding out that like there's your son is sick potentially, and you're emotional. You know, he's got powers, but it can kill him. There's people who are out there in the rest of the comic book who are like growing horns and stuff. And I can only imagine how how emotional everybody is, and they're going back and forth. Like, yeah, that's of all the times where you would say something like, "That's my that's my last word." Yeah. That is what it is. That would be the moment where you kind of lose your control. Right. When I looked at the dad's character, I look at him as a person who like is very distrustful of healthcare. And I mean, that's what you were saying too, but like completely like we are on our own. Nobody's going to help us. Maybe this can help help Virgil be better. I don't really see him as a I still see him as like a loving, caring parent. Like he's very present in the book, and like his priority is his child. He's not like talking about profiting off of him. He's talking about like his well-being. So it's cool to see that they have a strong family, like a unit. You know, even they had like a little flashback. I think, I don't know if it was the first issue or this issue, but they had a flashback to like when things were normal, and then now they're having like a lot of stress in the house. It just feels very real to me.
You know, and I didn't even think about that at all. I didn't put the situation into this argument. I just thought, hey, you just found out your son has powers. It's whatever, not a big deal. But you're right. Emotions are high. The house is burnt down. I mean, luckily everything is still up. But yeah, you got a very good point there. There's a reason why he's being so hot-headed right there.
And the guy who burned the house, he ran away.
Yeah, he's still out there. He's still out there. Yeah, exactly. So good points. I'm glad you brought that up. But moving on, it's the next day. Virgil is going to school, and then he says like that's one of the very first times in a long time that he goes to school early, but he just doesn't want to have breakfast around his family right now. Emotions are high. So he gets there, and he gets greeted by Darius, one of his friends. They kind of allude to it that it used to be a good buddy of his, but ever since Darius decided he wanted to be a journalist and he wanted to put people's business out there, they hung out less and less. And like he's like, you're always invited to game night, but he hasn't been there for a while. And he kind of proves why he's not a friend anymore, because he not only is he talking to Virgil at first, it's just a hey man, how's it going, but very quickly he's just like, I heard that this person's being blamed for attacking Francis, but I was there. I saw something else, and Virgil's like, you know what, just back off. Don't worry about it. Back off. And he's like, no, we need to know. Like the people need to know. We need to tell them the truth. Stories are being fabricated left and right. I know that you were there. We just need to hear your side. This is a story that affects everybody. And Virgil again, he's like, I'm not here for this. Basically no comment. And tells him once again, back off. And finally, he keeps pushing it. So Virgil, like you were saying earlier, when he was in the fight, he was still present to the fact where he can control his emotions. But with issue 1 and issue 2, we have got that sense of that he's kind of losing control. Like this power is feeding off of him, kind of. And I've never seen that in the cartoons or anything like that. But this is messing with his emotions, and so he doesn't like freak out or anything, but he does grab his phone, breaks it, and then just says, I warned you, back off, leave me alone. And he just takes off. He skips off at school. And I thought that was a pretty good scene. And he did say like, this is why you're not invited to the game night anymore. Like you're done.
Yeah. And was it Dungeons and Dragons that he was inviting him to, or that like that we're talking about?
I don't know. I wouldn't put it past him because Virgil's a huge nerd, but
Nerd. Yeah.
I don't know. I took it as like family game night, board
Oh,
games, stuff
okay.
like that.
Okay.
That's how I took it, but it never actually explained it. So,
Okay. Okay.
but Dungeons and Dragons makes sense.
I thought that scene, that scene, or that those like 2-3 pages were really great. I thought it was interesting because he's like not afraid to defend himself peer to
Yeah,
peer either.
he's a very confident person. Like very like his dad raised him pretty well to be that confident person.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I agree.
so then, like I said, Virgil ends up skipping school, trying to figure things out, trying to calm himself down. Again, presence of mind to know probably shouldn't be around too many people right now. He's dangerous, and he knows this, and he puts himself out of the situation. And then he remembers Curtis Metcalf, who AKA is Hardware, and he calls him. He did give him his number to all like the future inventors of America or something like that. And so he calls him, and Curtis is having his own problems. I'm not reading his storyline or anything. I'm not reading those comics. Are you? Are you reading those?
They're not out yet. I think they come out in August.
Oh, they're not out. So I did read the Milestone Returns 0, and we did get like a short story there where basically this Bang Baby gas is being blamed on Curtis, and he's got some problems right now. So he's on the phone. He's like, "Who is this? Get to the point." And I love that Virgil's like, "I'm a Bang Baby. My house just got burned down. I took down the guy, but now I don't know what to do." And he's like, "Oh, okay." Like it's just straight to the point. And he's like, "Okay, yeah." And they just start talking, and he ends up giving him access to one of his storage containers, storage lockers at wherever, and gives him the code. And he says, "You're free to use whatever's in there. You're a smart guy. Be careful. Also, I am being chased by the cops right now for being blamed for the Bang Baby, so be careful." So he did give him a warning. There is that. But Darius, we just move on to Darius, where he has moved on to another interviewee. He goes over to this guy's house. It's another Bang Baby. He's got the horns that you were mentioning, and he just looks scared. When Darius knocks the door, he says, like, "Are the army men with you?" And Darius, he wants to make a joke, but he kind of realizes the situation. Maybe his talk with Virgil kind of calmed him down. Who knows? But he doesn't make a joke. He goes inside, and this guy tells him basically that he was at a gathering and led by some guy named the Holocaust, which, why would you follow some guy named Holocaust? Like, as soon as you hear the name, you should just know, man, this guy's probably not the greatest, like,
Not a great name, Joyce.
Right.
A little too soon.
Yeah, exactly, right? And it looks like he has like fire powers or whatever, but we don't really know anything about him. But at this gathering, the soldiers came in, and I thought that they were just trying to gather them up, like capture all these Bang Babies or whatever. But from the art, from the paneling, it looks like they were out to kill. They were there for blood. And I mean, if they captured some alive, great. If not, whatever. But Holocaust, he gathered all these people, these followers, and as soon as things went bad, he dipped. He went out, and he didn't even try to protect anybody. And who is the savior? Hotstreak. Hotstreak is the guy that ended up saving this guy with the horns. And it may have been, it's definitely not he meant to be a hero, but his name is Hotstreak. He just wanted to burn some people up, and they were attacking him. But it turns out that he is a hero in this sense. I don't know what to think about Holocaust and like what he's trying to do.
I think so. Holocaust is a major character or major villain in the '90s series.
Is he? Okay, I didn't.
Yeah,
know that.
yeah. So basically, like, I think one of the interesting things that right now, or at least in this series, he's got fire powers, and so does Hotstreak.
Yeah.
So really, like at the end of the day, if Static is able to defeat Hotstreak, then he should be able to technically defeat Holocaust, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm just like making predictions for the future. I think he's going to have a interaction with Holocaust, a battle eventually, but it'll probably be more intellectual. It'll probably be more about like impact and growing up and respect, and like control of the city. Because like, I think what Black Panther, that movie, did really well was it addressed that, like, hey, this whole system's broken, and like we need to find ways to empower ourselves. And what a lot of really great stories do, especially with like the Black community as the major focus, is you have to figure out, am I going to participate in the system already and try to improve it, or just completely overhaul it? And that like the Black Panther movie kind of approached that topic gently,
Right.
and I'm hopeful that this Static comic does too, because the idea of like, hey, we're all mutated, we all have these powers, let's take over. X-Men's doing that now.
That's
they're
true.
talking about that. It's not a crazy idea to like, you have all the power, technically, take over if your system's broken. But I don't think Static's going to be on that wave.
Right. Yeah. No, he's not. I don't think he has that much power. He is a powerful hero, but I don't know if he can change the world. Have you, just kind of get off topic here, have you had a chance to read? Because once again, I saw your TikTok. I saw your pulls for the week. Have you had a chance to read the new Superman?
No, I have it literally right next to me.
Okay, all right.
I cannot wait. I'm like super duper excited. It's my number one, like I'm most anticipated. I do the opposite of you. I read it last. So I read I read the books that I think that's what you do, right? You read your ones that you're most excited about first.
Yeah.
I try and do it the opposite, just so that I can like be excited the whole time.
That makes sense. You know what? I should probably try that, because I do find myself at times, like, as I see that my reading pile is going down, I'm just less motivated to read it, because I'm like, this is the book that's at the end. I'm not too in a rush. So maybe I should switch it up. But I'm gonna drop the subject then, if you haven't read the Superman book, because I'm not gonna give you any spoilers. But just remember what we were just talking about. Remember this part. And for our watchers that have read the book, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
But I can see what you're saying already, though. Like power, power is a tool,
which is not really a spoiler at all, because I mean Superman has always had that power. So.
That's literally like the biggest part of Superman, right? Yeah. Like he literally can. That's what Injustice. I don't know if you read Injustice, right? Like. Is Injustice, is that what it's called? Yeah. So like he's got the potential to change the world, to take over, but should he? And I think that's one of the most interesting conversations in comics, right? Like you have this tremendous power and ability, but like, should you? Batman can kill everybody, but should he?
I think it's funny that you bring up Injustice, because I do have a video with a special guest as well coming up with that book. I have it edited and everything, so I am gonna upload it here soon. Give myself a little shameless plug here, but you're bringing up the same points. Superman, Injustice, all that stuff. I think it's a great issue, and I don't want to continue on it, because I don't want to accidentally spoil anything, and I want you. I can't wait for you to read it, honestly. But
cool.
Just to finish the book out, Darius just met with this guy. And then the next thing we see is Virgil finds the storage locker that Curtis told him about, and he's just a kid in a candy store. He's seeing all these cool gadgets. He's seeing some clothes that I feel like we're gonna be seeing that in the future, in the near future. Maybe we already see it here in the cover, but he's just seeing all these toys that he can potentially play with, and not even a minute in. And he's got cops showing up outside telling him he's got 5 seconds to come out, and they think it's Curtis, because it is his storage locker, so they think it's Curtis Metcalf. He is on the run from the law. He's suspected of I guess terrorism. Is that what that was with the whole Bang Baby gas?
Gas, yeah. They're blaming the gases on him, on Curtis.
So, and then that's just how it ends. He's like, oh man, my dad's gonna be so pissed. he is a teenager. He is, in the end, he's a teenager.
Assuming he's gonna get out of it alive. And like in the Milestone Returns book, Curtis immediately gets shot at by the police. Like, there's no questions, there's no talking, and I'm like Virgil, you don't know. Things about to get bad right now.
Yeah, and once again, like you said, like that is touching on real life situations, and I didn't even think about that right now. Like Virgil does not realize the danger he's in at the moment. I mean,
at all. Oh my God, right? Like, oh man, you see, this is why I like this book so much, because like they're approaching topics that, like, one is youth, right? It's a kid, right? The nerd, he's smart, he's independent, he's not afraid to be expressing himself. He's made fun of, he's got style, right? He's got a different haircut every time.
Yeah.
I love the artist. I'm like, he's putting like some reality in it. Yeah. I'm a big fan of what this is. I'm a big fan of what Milestone is in general. I think this is a great book. Anybody who made it this far in the video, I'm sure they agree.
I mean, I hope so. You know, I do these recaps because for the most part, you know, maybe someone is on the edge of, do I want to pick up this book? So I'm hoping eventually I get to the point where, hey, I'll go watch Manny's video to see if I want to pick up this book or if anything. So, like with this, I mean, nothing bad by it, but my rating for this is a 7 out of 10. You know, 7 is good. Like in my book, 7 is that it was entertaining. You know, I wanted to read the story. I definitely am going to pick up the next issue or finish the series. It's just, you know, I right at the moment, like I said, I'm still battling my other half, and my other half is saying, no, you're changing too much. The dad is too mean. Virgil is too cool, and he's not over here hiding his secret identity or anything like that. Like, oh, Daisy has powers. That my other half is just like, I don't like this. You know, so at the moment, it's just a 7 out of 10. I'm still battling, but the positives here is that Virgil is very intelligent. He's very confident, and the fact that you see those signs of heroism very early on, I'm very excited to see where that goes. And again, to point out what I know from the cartoons, like they showed him to be one of the greatest heroes in the future. You know, in Batman Beyond era. So like, I'm excited to see him hopefully grow up. Hopefully Milestone Returns is here to stay and not just oh, we did that for 2 months and that's it. So
Yeah.
what about you? What would you give this out of 10?
So the only part of the story that I did not like so much was what was that kid's name who was like the reporter, the wannabe reporter?
Darius.
Darius. Yeah. I'm like, I wasn't excited to read any of that stuff. Like I find myself skipping kind of.
Yeah.
Just because I wasn't like interested. You know, it's like it wasn't moving the plot very much for me. I'm more interested in like learning more about like, you know, like what's going on with the family, what's going on with Hotstreak, what's going on with Holocaust. Like, I don't know. That's just me. So I wouldn't give it a 10. I wouldn't give it a 9. I'd probably give it an 8. I still think that even though I'm a big fan of the art, I think that some of the characters look the same. I'll get confused. I'm like,
I feel like he kind of did that on purpose for people like me that have only seen the cartoon, because they haven't introduced him yet. But I know the artist. I can't pronounce his name. What is it, Nicholas?
Yeah, it's like Nicholas Draper or Draper Ivy.
Draper Ivy. Okay, there it is. Yeah, Draper Ivy. Okay, so I saw a couple of his things on Instagram, his art, and he does have like Richie in there, and he has shown up here in the very first issue. And Richie's got that green jacket with the orange line, and everything, just like in the cartoon. So I think he made it to where it looks a little bit like the cartoon, so we can get some of that reference. But I mean, you're the one with the older ones. Would you say that they match up with the older ones as well?
The style is not the same at all.
Yeah.
In terms of artwork, like you're reading a completely different story, right? Yeah. The characters are somewhat similar, but they're kind of different. I think that this is, I'm treating this as an independent story, like an Elseworld story of Static. Okay. Like this is its own thing. This is for a new audience. You know, like I was saying about the faces look the same, like the mom and the sister. Sometimes I didn't know who's who.
I see.
I was like,
yeah.
Who's who?
That was tough. That was very tough. Yes.
Those are small things. I love the art. Like I think especially with digital art, like electricity is really cool. The fire and the smoke is really cool. But so that small stuff kind of it could be a little bit better. It could be sharper. Yeah. I hope Nicholas is not watching this. So he's gonna.
I'm gonna tag him specifically. I'm gonna tell him the timestamp and everything to make sure.
But I think the writing is really smooth. I didn't find myself like having to reread or get lost. I didn't get lost. So yeah, I do an 8.
8 out of 10. I mean, that's a solid rating right there. That's like for most people that aren't sure if they want to go into this book or not. Like if you are already feeling like I kind of like Static, I feel like an 8, 7, both, like jump on it. And I would say jump on this book right now. Like it's like the issues going on in it are very real, but we also got that very comic book feel of it as well. So I definitely like it. But other than that, I mean, do you have anything else that you want to touch on with Static?
I will say, I don't know if anybody doesn't know the history for Milestone, but I think I'll say, I wanted to say this, like, because I just think it's interesting history. So in the 1990s, Dwayne McDuffie and a few other Black creators, they were feeling that like all the Black characters in comic books were Black characters. Like it wasn't a Green Lantern; it was the Black Green Lantern, John Stewart. You couldn't have any characters just be like characters who were Black. It was like no, the Black character. So
that's the different version. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like they didn't have the space to be just themselves. They because their race, was the primary thing you saw. So when they created the Milestone Media universe, they created intentionally with like, no, we're gonna have an extremely diverse cast of characters, and like their Blackness is not even a thing that we're thinking about. Right. Like what we're thinking about is like, oh, this person's the nerd. Oh, this person's like the Iron Man character. This is the Peter Parker. This is like the X-Men. So there's like a group called the Blood Syndicate that's literally just like the X-Men. And like, and I always thought that was really interesting because it was intentional about every character being, a Black person, but it wasn't supposed to be about like
that's
them just
their
being
only thing.
That's not their thing, right? Like you're supposed to read to find out like what drives them, what's exciting, while dealing with things in the Black community, like issues. Like one of the things in Icon and Rocket, I don't know if this is going to happen in the comic book, but she has to deal with being pregnant as a teenager.
Oh wow!
It's like it's a wild story.
I didn't even see that coming.
And she's a teenager. In the book, she in the 90s, she was like 14 years old, 15 years old. She's a kid. So, and like these things happen, and I know in the Latino community it happens. I know in the Dominican, like in Black communities it happens. Like teenagers get pregnant, and then there's conversations about abortion, or about or keeping the baby, and like these are really, really real issues. And then your Blackness is not even the focal point. It's like, oh no, this is an issue that happens in this community, and we're going to address it in this comic book. So that's what Milestone Media was made for. And that's why I'm really excited about this whole thing happening.
That's that's an eye opener. I did not know any of that history there. I don't do my own research apparently, but but that's really good to know. Like that opens up my eyes to why we got this story with Static. Like why they are talking about some of these issues. It looks like they're keeping the spirit of the creator of Milestone alive, basically. So that's great.
And and just this small last piece that like when Static first came out, it was like it was like the Static and Icon. When it first came out in the 90s, they were like doing the same kinds of sale. It came out during like the death of Superman time. So like thousands and thousands of books in the 90s were being printed. So they were really crushing it. Like they were putting out a lot of books in people's hands. It was just like when the bubble burst, the comic bubble burst, that's when it failed too. And like DC was already doing a lot of other books, so they dropped it. But it could have had longevity if it was just born in the right time. So this might be the right time.
I'm hoping so. I'm really hoping, because this is just a 6-issue series. It's a mini series, but I'm hoping that it's got the right sales, it's got the right audience and everything, and it just continues. Hopefully.
Me too.
Cross your fingers. Well, other than that, man, I really appreciate that insight. Appreciate you coming on here. Again, make sure you follow him on Instagram at albertlovescomics. He's got a TikTok as well. Other than that, man, what?
I'm going to show the logo. Albert Loves Comics.
Albert Loves Comics. That's a great. And if you can't really see it right now, it does have like little comic book stuff in the background there. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
We won't talk about what he sacrificed to make that happen, but no, I appreciate you guys coming on. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. I do also, this will be on a podcast platform, and most of them, Spotify, Google, Apple, Stitcher. So if any of those catch you, then make sure you listen on there. The most important thing is you share this with your friends. And thank you for watching, and thank you for listening. See you guys later.